and welcome to Bow Beats and the general disorder that is my studio at the moment. I'm actually working on making a new area for shooting video, so that's something I've, devoted a lot of time to, but the rest of the studio is quite a mess. And yeah, if you're wondering, that's the key step on top of the speaker. So on the 1st of April, I did a little April Fool's joke, and to everybody that I fooled with my I'm selling my circuit video, I'm sorry. I just couldn't, First I posted just a status update on Facebook in one of the forums, telling everybody, I'm selling it, I have to sell it because I'm buying a modular rig, and then I realized I could make a little fun video out of it. But in that video, I was actually showcasing you my new circuit MIDI setup or circuit MIDI controller that I'm using. I'm using an old Axiom 61 from M-Audio to control parameters on the circuit. So I thought we would dedicate a video to going over what kind of setup I'm using, how I'm using it, but I'd also like some input from you guys on how to expand on it, because I have a couple of controllers that I still haven't mapped out, and it would be, interesting to hear what you guys have to say about them, what I should try to map to them. So if you haven't seen the video I'm talking about where I demo the controller, you can just check the description for a link, and here's a very quick snippet. This is my old Axiom 61 from M-Audio, and I think I bought it 2002, so it's quite old. But one thing I really didn't get into was MIDI mapping. I did have a couple of, presets that I loaded into the memory, for Cubase and for some soft synths and so on, but I really didn't get into, programming it myself. And this is something, if you're a long-term viewer of this channel here, you probably heard me say before that I don't really like MIDI, partly because I don't understand it, partly because I think it's, it's a bit cumbersome, clunky. The thing is, as with anything you don't understand, it often seems a lot more annoying to work with or a lot harder than it really is. So let me try and, break down simply what kind of MIDI is actually going on here on the M-Audio 61, and how does it work with the circuit. And of course we have the trusted sip of the coffee. MIDI is a language, that lets different devices talk to each other. You probably know this. The most basic things are of course note values, pitch, and aftertouch and whatnot, things that can be sent from, for example, a keyboard to a synthesizer. But one of the more interesting aspects of MIDI is of course MIDI CC. Basically what this lets you do is lets you assign a CC value to, for example, this fader here. So when you drag the fader up and down like this, I'm not sure if you can see it, but this little window here shows you actually a value going up and down. This particular value goes from 0 to 127. Basically it sends this value, or say if I increase it to 87, it increases a corresponding value on the circuit to 87. And in this case, this is the volume for synth 1. And the volume on synth 1 corresponds to a CC value. So if we just go through the parameters I have mapped out here, I will also do a little graphic, I think, over here, so you can see what CC value I have tied to every knob, because I can't remember it at the moment, so I'll just edit a number in here. Here's a number, and we can just go through it. So on the faders here, here's the volume for synth 1, and on the second fader here I have the volume for synth 2. Then I have volumes for drum 1, drum 2, drum 3 and drum 4. These are values from 0 to 127, which is the max value for the maximum volume. But then I also have mute states, or it's not really mute states, it's just going from 0 to 127 with one click. So on button number 1 here, this button here, basically if I click it, I will mute synth 1. If I press button number 2 here, I will mute synth 2, drum 1, drum 2, drum 3, and drum 4. So this is basically it. So I'm using all of these different, buttons here in order to control the volume. Now, there might be a smarter way to do this, but the reason why I wanted it set up like this is because sometimes you just want to mute something very quickly and then to bring it in on an exact point. That's why I wanted, a mute state button. And the faders here are instead for, fine tuning, fine tweaking. So for example, let me play you guys the drum beat that I had in my previous video. So as you can hear, I can use the faders now in order to sort of, very easily mix these channels together. And I can quickly mute. So that's sort of the philosophy behind using all these faders here and buttons here in order to control something as simple as volume. And as you can see in my latest performance, the April Fool's performance, it makes it so I can easily switch, for example, between, say, drums 1 here and 3 and 2 and 4, which basically had different drum grooves. So this is the first drum groove. And let me just switch between them. So as you can see here, it's quite easy to, make swift changes. And of course you could use the mute states as well. It's just something more organic with the faders. And as you can see, I'm rocking some new glasses. I'm not sure what the look is this time. Last time it was like Harry Potter / John Lennon apparently, but this time I'm not sure. Maybe you can leave a little comment down in the description telling me what kind of style I'm rocking now. So what do the other buttons do? Well, over here I have pitch. These 3 faders here corresponds to pitch values. So here's pitch for drum 2, pitch for drum 3, and pitch for drum 4. The reason why I don't have drum 1 is, well, firstly I just had three faders, but secondly, because in the way I use the circuit, I often use drum 1 for the kick, the bass, the main kick drum of the track, the main kick drum, and perhaps even a snare or something. But usually I keep like track 1 for bass duties, and I often don't want to switch up the pitch on that one. I usually just set it manually on the circuit here. Going into drum number 1 here, just you set it up manually, and I don't see much reason to change it up. Now, of course, you could probably do it in a lot of different ways. But the fun thing here is that with the kind of kit that I have here, this is my custom kit for the circuit with the analog drum sounds, a bit lo-fi. It's, it's a lot of fun switching up the pitch. So for example, if I pick drum 2 and 4 here, and it sounds like this. Playing with the pitch, it's a lot of fun, create really interesting variations to the sound. Now, one thing that I really enjoy doing is playing with the delay, and it's what these 3 buttons here do. These 3 buttons corresponds to delay send for drum 2, drum 3, and drum 4. Basically, it's like a massive delay that is toggled on and off with these buttons. Let me show you. What this little section will let me do is basically playing with the pitch and using the on and off switch for the delay to create, interesting rhythmic effects. So that's something I really enjoy doing. Over on this side here, I've actually set it up so that the original pitch bend and the modulation wheel corresponds to mix frequency and mix resonance. So it's just, no resonance, changing up the frequency, and here's the resonance coming in. What do we have in terms of affecting the sound of the synthesizer on the circuit? Well, over here I have 8 buttons. And the top row here corresponds to synth 1, and the second row here corresponds to synth 2. Now the first button here is for frequency. The second one here is for resonance, the third for drive, and the fourth for drive type. And the same goes for the second synth, frequency, res, drive, and drive type. Basically, it's just a matter of setting the same CC values for the top and second row, and then just setting it to channel 1 and channel 2. I'm not saying that my edit sounded better, but as you can see, it's, just 4 knobs here to tweak the sound. And then you have, of course, the 8 macro knobs on the circuit as well. Perhaps you guys can come up with what I should use these buttons for, because I don't really feel I need like a record and start and stop button. I have that on the circuit itself. So I have 6 buttons here that I haven't assigned, and then I have these pads here. Maybe you can think up a good way to use the pads. So I'll leave that up to you. Just leave a comment down in the comment section, tell me what you think I should do with it. So why should you map something like this? Well, it gives you a lot of hands-on control, and it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't tried it, you really should try it. And even if you don't have a circuit, you could start to assign CC data to whatever controller and whatever synthesizer. Just look up in the manual or online or ask around for what CC message and channel corresponds to a certain parameter on your favorite synthesizer. So this was my video on my current MIDI controller for the circuit. Now I'd like to hear from you guys. Firstly, what do you think I should do with the controller? How should I expand it? Because as you could see, I had a lot of different, buttons left that I can do something with. I think you guys can probably come up with a ton of fun ideas that I could try out. Secondly, I'd like to know, what kind of MIDI controllers do you use with the circuit or with any other piece of hardware? How do you have it mapped up? What works for you? What do you think is fun? Thirdly, I'd like to know if there's anybody out there who's struggling with MIDI CC and understanding how to use it. So you can just leave a comment if there's anything you're wondering about MIDI CC, and maybe I could do a follow-up video to this one. So this was a Bo Beats video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you did, you should consider subscribing to the channel. If you think I deserve it, leave a like, it helps me out. And if you want to support me further, you can head over to patreon.com/BoBeats. And I just want to end this with a big shout out to all the patrons. Thank you so much for all the support and love, and a special big thanks to Evan McEnroe. I hope I didn't butcher the last name, for your generous donation. So thank you so much. This was Bo from Bo Beats, and have a pleasant day. Thank you.